Crazy Dre Podcast.
Welcome to the Crazy Dre Podcast Show, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We're going to talk about Detroit Tigers baseball, folks. Detroit Tigers lost again. This time they lost to Toronto Blue Jays. There's a lot of things to look at for Detroit and their stats. Reese Olson started for Detroit against Eric Lorley. It was a pretty good matchup for Detroit. Toronto has been moving on up a little bit, and they've been playing better. They've been hitting the ball better. They've been pitching better. Detroit is another way going downhill. But let's look at what they've done. So Jamie Jones hits a home run in the first inning. It looks everything absolutely awesome. All right. So it's 1-0. Detroit doesn't have a problem scoring in the beginning of the game, and they don't seem to have a problem scoring at the end of the game. But these end of the games are becoming much more problematic because they're way behind. But let's look at Reese Olson. So Reese Olson basically pitched a great game up to the sixth inning. He pitched 5.2 innings, gave up 6 hits, 2 home runs, 5 earned runs, and walked 2 guys with 4 strikeouts. He had a pretty good percentage of strikes, of strikes, 57 out of 95 pitches. So the problem isn't really starting pitchers. The problem really is, to me, is that when they get in trouble and they give up a hit or they give up a double, then the wheels start to fall off for the starters, especially the starters. And I want to say this is that one of the things I've noticed about Detroit Tigers pitchers, the starters, is that they don't seem to know how to work through the growing pains or the innings that they give up a couple of hits. And then they got guys on scoring positions for the other team. This is one thing about baseball today, is that they don't allow pitchers to get themselves out of their own heap of stuff. And that means starting pitchers. I'm not talking about bullpen pitchers, because bullpen pitchers are supposed to close things up and shut things down. That didn't work so much for Dimitri Eanes, who came in for an inning. He gave up an inning in 1/3. He gave up 4 hits, gave up 4 runs, and 1 strikeout. And that's not good for baseball. That's not good for Detroit Tigers. I'm not going to pick on him so much, because it's just one of those things that when Reese Olson was struggling, he walked a couple guys after he gave up a home run. And then along the way, AJ Hinge at the end of the game gave up and started Rogers, the catcher, Jake Rogers, to throw the ball, to come out of the bullpen, or the bench, in other words. And that's something that you can't just keep continually doing. And I think that's one thing that I will say this again, and I will say this until we get a 5th starter, and is that you can't live off your bullpen pitchers. That's cute for 2.5 weeks. That's cute for a week. That's just not going to work for you. Okay? But if we look at this other stat, I want to look at this other stat that I just did about Detroit. So in the last 10 games, starting from Tampa Bay Rays and all the way down to the first game of the Blue Jays in this little mini series, Detroit's left about 10 runners against the Rays at 3-7 loss. They left 8 runners against the Mariners to that 3-12 loss. This is before, and these 3-4 games are before the All-Star break. When Detroit lost to the Mariners 7-15, they left 11 guys on base, and that 4-8 loss, they left 12 guys on base. Against the Rangers, they left approximately 19 runners on base within those 3 games. Against the Pittsburgh Pirates, they left 21 runners on base. So that's not good. And they left 6 guys on base against the Toronto Blue Jays. So we have an issue with getting guys home as well. Detroit struck out approximately 98 times. So against the Rays, they struck out 7 times. Against the Mariners, the 3-game series, they struck out 33 times. Against the Rangers series, they struck out approximately 23 times. And against the Pirates, they struck out 39 times against the Pirates. And no, I'm sorry, 33 times against the Pirates, and then 7 times against the Blue Jays. So Detroit's going after bad pitchers. Javier Baez is reaching for the stars again. He's swinging for balls out of the strike zone. And this is what happens when the team becomes kind of struggling to get runners in. A lot of these guys, like Baez, he's got a guy on second or third or second or whatever. They're trying to move guys over, and then they're going after bad pitches. Matt Verlaine is finally hitting the ball better, but but the one thing I've noticed is that AJ Hinch keeps moving the lineup a lot. For a while, he had Colt Keith leading off, and then recently he put Gilbert Torres leading off, and for a while it seemed to work for Colt Keith to lead off. And that's just one thing I think that Detroit is also struggling with, is the normacy of the normal position where you're going to be at bat. When you always know where you're going to be, you're more comfortable with that mindset of what you want to do and how you want to get on base, and when your position as a cleanup or the guy that protects the cleanup hitter like Riley Green, and he usually hits at cleanup at fourth hitter. Don't know why I can't process anything in my head right now. But when you keep moving the lineup, it doesn't work. It just won't work for you for the longest time. It works sometimes. I think it worked last year for Detroit when they were trying to figure out how to get things going in August 13 of 2024 when they started on their winning streak, the remarkable winning streak. But Detroit needs to figure things out. If you look at the walks for Detroit against Rays through all the way down to the Blue Jays, they walked 4 times against the Rays. They walked approximately 11 times against the Mariners. They walked approximately 12 times against the Rangers, and they walked about 6 times against the Pirates. And they didn't walk at all against the Blue Jays. So even though Eric Larley was pitching a very good game, I see Detroit's impatience coming through. They're not patient at all. And their bullpen is suffering because of that, because they're putting the pressure on the bullpen to keep the game close. So when the game's 1-0 going into the 5th inning against the Blue Jays, the bullpen and Reese Olson can't rely on the hitters to bring them in. So that's something to consider. Detroit will be going against the Blue Jays again today. Montero is on the mound. He didn't have a good outing last time, So we're hoping things a little different. I think that again, you want to stay with the lineup where the guys are on cue, that they know where they're going to be. Stop changing the lineup so much. Second, what I would want to do is play small ball. Small ball means like if you get Jamon Jones, even though he's been hitting pretty well, hitting home runs here and there, and so forth, you want him to get on base, or Winslow Perez, take him on have him as a leadoff hitter and have him bunt. Small ball means bunt. Move the players, move the runners over, get on first base, make things happen. Small ball is the way to do it. Detroit Tiger Stadium is huge. So if there's a lot of times that Detroit keeps continuing to hit the ball really good, really hard, but it just doesn't, it just, they fly out to where the right fielder, center fielder, left fielder are just standing. So sometimes you have bad luck in that way. But as long as you keep hitting the ball, making contact with the ball, it should turn things around for Detroit. I think that they are not just going to have to be scoring runs right away, but they need to continually not just think about waiting till the eighth or seventh inning to get the ball rolling, or at least get the motor moving. I think that when you have an opportunity, a guy on second base with one out, what do? You play small ball, or you hit the ball on the opposite side of the field. So if you're left-handed, so if you got a guy on second base, you got a right-handed hitter, you want to hit the ball towards right field so that the guy to the second can go over to third. So that'd be still two outs at that point. But that way, if you get a fluky hit, the guy comes in. And that's small ball. And that way you don't put a lot of pressure on your starting pitcher like Reese Olson, Jack Flaherty. I will say even Tarek Skubal, they're not scoring runs for him either. Montero is going to be the guy that needs runs to be scored. Jack Flaherty is another guy that needs runs to be scored so that he feels comfortable. So if you keep scoring, even if you don't score 8 runs or 9 runs, if you get the ball going, you get a couple of hits, if you at least get 4 runs within 5 innings or 6 innings, then your starting pitching can relax more and concentrate on continually throw strikes. One thing I do notice about Reese Olson, and this is my last point I wanted to make. My last point is this about Reese Olson and Jack Flaherty is that when they give up a run or two, their body language says everything. And as a head coach or manager, I would tell those guys you can't make those body movements, can't have that frown on your face, can't make that back of yours slop over like you've given up or you've been defeated. And the reason why I tell players like that, it doesn't matter if it's football, basketball, baseball, or hockey, or any of those sports, you don't want to do that because that gives the other team, the other hitter, especially in baseball, the guy that's coming up to bat, he knows that you are struggling, and if you're not in the best of mood, you're going to make the worst mistakes. And that's kind of what happens to Reese Olson and Jack Flaherty the most. Tarek Skubal, he got a little bit more strength, so he can throw the ball harder, bypass the hitter, and that's how things work out for Tarek Skubal usually. But I will end this podcast this way. If you enjoy this podcast or this episode, please follow, share. I'm on I'm on Spotify. I'm on Apple Podcasts. Anywhere you can download your podcast. I'm on YouTube, the Patreon, anywhere. Again, I'm going to try my best to do Detroit sports and Detroit Tigers baseball, but my schedule doesn't always work that way. Uh, Peace, love, and keep it going. In other words, God bless the boys. That's an 84 thing, a 1984 thing about Detroit Tigers baseball when Detroit Tigers were struggling between, let's say, 82 and 83. Their announcer, not Ernie, but another guy that did, I think he did the press. He named the Detroit Tigers nickname "God bless the boys" because they were such a good team, but struggling and they just couldn't get over the hump. So maybe that we need this kind of luck. So I'm out of here. Good luck. Enjoy the game while I'm at work.